So, hi, Rich. Welcome to the Arbitration Pitch with Lauraine Darkwah, and it's a delight to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So, it's all about arbitration, your journey, how far you've come, and really where you're going. So, let's start. How did you get into arbitration?
Well, here at Baker McKenzie, we have a mixed team that does litigation and arbitration. And the idea is in the first sort of 2-3 years, you do both, and then you start to specialise after that. But in practice, I always knew that I wanted to do arbitration when I was coming in, and very much channeled myself towards that, trying to pick up as many arbitration cases as I could. And I got lucky with a big arbitration that I got put on pretty much as soon as I qualified into the team. So I, after that, was really doing, 80% of my work was arbitration, and over time it's become pretty much my entire practice. So for me, it was all about working the Baker McKenzie system to try to channel myself towards arbitration,
Right.
And picking up the cases as I went on.
Interesting. So, how has it been being in the arbitration space? Have you found it to be challenging? Have you found it to be exciting? What's it been?
So I definitely find it challenging. I think for us in England in particular, because we have a split profession with barristers and solicitors,
Right.
and I'm a solicitor, if I was just going down the litigation route, then the drafting of pleadings, the oral advocacy, the cross-examination would all be done by barristers. The benefit we have in the arbitration practice is that we do a lot more of that ourselves, and therefore that adds challenges. It certainly adds to your workload doing that, but it's exciting. It's fun to do. It's a great experience, and I think that it's been incredibly valuable for me to have the opportunity to do that as I've been going through and to develop those skills. So yes, it's challenging, but that is what makes it exciting.
One thing that a lot of young arbitration practitioners find challenging is networking, because for some people, due to their personalities, they might not want to go for conferences or have to kind of pitch themselves to people. So how can we go around that? How have you navigated that?
Well, look, I mean, I would say I'm one of those people that perhaps doesn't think of themselves as a natural networker, and you have to put yourself out of your comfort zone. You have to go to things. Going to conferences a lot helps, because first, that the other people there have an interest in the same topics as you, and second, you start to see the same people, and that's where it starts to get easier. As you get, when you put yourself out of your comfort zone and do that, maybe when you're 3-4 years qualified, it's difficult. You don't know people there. By the time you're 8, 9, 10 years qualified and you've been doing it for a few years, you are seeing the same faces. You're seeing faces you've been opposite in arbitrations, or you've maybe co-counseled with, and then it starts to become easier because you start to build your own network naturally, and then when you go to other things, you're seeing people and it then becomes easier to speak to someone else you maybe didn't know, because you're also with people you did know. So I think a lot of us feel that's challenging at the start, but it does build over time.
And how does that translate to work?
Well, in many ways. I mean, firstly, people seeing you around the circuit, it builds your reputation in the market generally. But secondly, there are situations where co-counsel is necessary. Maybe you've got two parties on the same side but with slightly different interests, and they originally go to one firm, and that firm says, well, look, we can't act for both of you, but we recommend this person. And so you get referrals of work that way. And then sometimes you're seeing people at conferences who are clients, potential clients, and building relationships with them. Sometimes you're seeing people who are experts, and in some circumstances, we've had work referred to us by potential experts that in-house lawyers have approached for a kind of initial view, and usually we would be instructed before experts, but it does sometimes happen that they're approached by particularly sophisticated in-house teams for an initial view on valuation or something, and they might then say, well, actually, we worked with these people before, and they would be good for this matter. So it's kind of a number of ways. It's quite organic in that sense, but certainly it helps.
Wow. You've been in this space for a while. You're now counsel, and I'm sure you've seen different areas evolve over the years. What are some of the trending areas in arbitration now?
Well, for me, I work in commercial arbitration rather than investor state. So what I've certainly seen more of is post-M&A disputes. Now, the M&A market has been pretty low for the last couple of years. What that means is, 18 months ago, 2 years ago, people were entering into deals that maybe 6 months, a year later, don't look so strong. And there's a bit of buyer's remorse, looking for ways in which they might be able to recover some value with claims. And so we've seen more of those issues coming out as the market's fallen, as tends to happen. The market can be quite cyclical in that way, but we've seen more of those issues coming out. So that's very much my practice. My practice is post M&A disputes and joint venture disputes.
Okay.
So that's been pretty busy the last couple of years in particular.
So if someone is looking at building a career in arbitration and they're looking at courses they can do to make sure they are relevant, you suggest courses around commercial?
I think so. I mean, I think, look, commercial arbitration, I think, generally is growing. More people are choosing arbitration for lots of commercial transactions. So I think there's a lot of room for growth there, and there is growth happening. Having said that, that's my practice, that's what I'm interested in. But certainly I wouldn't be saying, investor state stuff is not growing. I mean, we've certainly got a lot of that work on in our team, so I wouldn't be saying that to the exclusion of other things.
And would you say, moving away from trending areas, would you say that you've had mentors or people who have held your hand to make you a better arbitration practitioner?
Yeah, very much so. So I had two partners in particular here. So Ed Poulton and Andy Moody have both been a huge benefit to my career. So early on, when I first qualified, I worked very closely with Ed Poulton. He gave me a lot of opportunities that it's not always easy to get when you're very junior, to be drafting cross-examination, drafting pleadings with the sort of holding the pen on more things than you might, and that was a huge benefit to me early on. Gave me a lot of exposure, a lot of experience. And then for the last few years, I've been working a lot with Andy Moody, and he again gave me my first opportunity to do oral advocacy. He's a big proponent of people in the team doing it, and it's really valuable to get that experience under your belt and start doing it more and more in order to develop those skills. It's one thing writing it, it's one thing writing for someone else and watching them do it. It's quite another thing to do it yourself and to be able to learn from that and develop your ability to react on your feet in that way. So those two in particular have been of huge benefit to my career and my development.
Right. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Andy. So as young people, I think that sometimes we do not know how to relate to our mentors and get the best out of them. Is there anything you think you did in particular that helped you to have a good relationship with them, to get the best out of the relationship, to ensure that that relationship translated to better work ethic with you?
I think it's regularly seeking feedback. So I would, particularly, when I was doing something for the first time or when I was more junior, after I did a big piece of work or a big thing, I wouldn't wait until my sort of formal evaluation things. I'd say, let's go for a coffee, let's chat about how that went, what I could have done better, what went well, and I would consistently do that after big filing deadlines, after hearings, after other major pieces of work. I would just go for a short coffee with them and just have a quick, while it's all fresh, what went well, what could have done better, and that is really helpful to get that feedback live, because sometimes when you get to sort of an end of year, whatever, those smaller details have kind of been sort of lost, and it's just helpful to tailor your working style to different people as well when you're doing that. I mean, I worked a lot with Ed the first few years. Then when I started working more with Andy, some of the ways that Ed liked to do things were different. So
right.
Getting that feedback would help me to understand how to adapt to different partners and to different people. So
right.
I just think it's so important to have that ongoing dialogue and not just wait for kind of the sort of formal checkpoints for when you get feedback.
Right. So we're coming to the end of our interview, and I'd like you to look into the camera and tell us 3 things that you think young people should do to be excellent arbitration practitioners. What are 3 things that you think that young people should have under their belt to ensure that they excel in the arbitration space?
Arbitration is a community, so the first one is very much build your network.
Right.
Get to know the people in your region, get to go to the events that are on, and get your name out there, and get to know the other names of the people in your generation that are interested in arbitration. So that's the first one. The second one would be take every opportunity that comes up, particularly to do oral advocacy.
Right.
There are never quite as many opportunities as you think.
Okay.
And it's certainly worth grabbing every one of them with both hands and throwing yourself into it. The third, preparation.
Okay.
When you are doing oral advocacy, when you're doing submissions, there is no substitute for detailed preparation, detailed work, structuring your thoughts and the evidence carefully and properly. There's no substitute for that. It's very, very hard to do that well without detailed preparation. And when you're junior, you've got more opportunity to be on top of all the documents, to be all over everything, and to show that you're the person who can command the knowledge of the whole case. And so take that opportunity, do the preparation, so when you're in the hearings, you are the most useful person there to the more senior people, because you are on top of all that material. So those would be my 3 main points.
Thank you so much, Rich. If Rich is not working and in the arbitration space, what would Rich be doing?
I've got 3 children, so mostly hiding. No, playing with my children at home.
Great.
It takes up a lot of my time.
Great. Thank you so much, Rich,
Thank you for having me.
Interview, and we hope to see you more in the arbitration space. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, done.